Well, in recent days, floods have wreaked havoc in different areas of the country, causing massive damage to property and also vehicles. Those who are lucky will be able to claim from insurance. Christelle Colman from Old Mutual Insure is in our Cape Town studio. She joins us now to talk about what we can do. Christelle, good morning to you. Thank you indeed for your time this morning. How can we protect ourselves from freak weather conditions with insurance?
Well, you know, the only way that you can protect yourself is through the means of insurance. And really, over the past couple of days, it's been the perfect storm for us as, people living in South Africa, but also for the insurance companies considering the floods and, the double impact of load shedding. So it's been an interesting time, and it just highlights again the importance of having good insurance cover in place.
When it comes to how an insurance company ascertains what is considered extreme weather and regular weather, how are you able to differentiate between that? Because in Gauteng, as you'll know, we can have very heavy hailstorms that don't always cause damage, but sometimes they do. So what does a company like Old Mutual do to differentiate between them?
Well, insurance really is there for these big, weather events, floods, hail damage, as you say, and of course the fires that we've seen in the Southern Cape over the last couple of years. So that's the core purpose of insurance, is to cover us against these catastrophic events. Insurance companies employ actuaries to make sure that we price correctly in order for us to be able to pay out these claims, and we certainly are ready at these specific times of the year ready to handle these claims and to make sure that our clients are looked after when things go wrong.
Here's a question I think perhaps many people watching, I think I may be one of them as I asked the question, because I'm not sure. Is everybody who has insurance automatically covered for something like extreme weather, or do I need to go and read page 190 of my insurance policy?
No, as I said earlier on, the core purpose of an insurance policy is really to cover you against flood and fire. So it would be highly, highly unusual for you not to have cover against floods. And if you are privileged enough to have insurance at this, with this specific event, you certainly would be covered. I think something that's worth mentioning is, for instance, motor insurance. In South Africa, only 3 out of 10 cars on the road are actually insured. So when we saw all those cars drifting down the river, the eNCA River in Centurion, it could be true that a number of those cars don't actually have insurance, and those people won't be covered. But if you have insurance, you certainly would have the benefit of flood cover.
Is there a situation where extreme weather has been experienced by, say, an area in Centurion, for example, and those people living in those areas would have an insurance policy reject a claim because they're living in a more dangerous area where it's more prone to flooding than any other parts of Gauteng?
No, that's also, again, that would be highly unlikely. We have seen there's certain areas in South Africa where it's become very difficult to insure against flood because certain rivers flood every single year. And particularly in 2019, we've seen a number of catastrophic events. We call them catastrophic events because there's a specific way that it's been treated by the reinsurance companies who insure the insurance companies again. So we've seen more catastrophic events in 2019 than, for instance, 2018. But at the moment, we don't have, any specific concerns around flood insurance in that area. Centurion is a particularly difficult area. I mean, we've seen that area around that hotel been flooded before, and it might become more expensive and more challenging to get flood insurance in that area. But at this point in time, the cover is in place.
With the kind of extreme weather that we are seeing as far as the flooding is concerned, you mentioned buildings and you mentioned cars as well. What about personal injury insurance? Is someone able to claim from insurance if they were to take, for example, insurance out on an employee that works for them or on any kind of company asset that could be damaged as a result of flooding? Personal cars is one thing and homes is one thing. What about businesses and how they can claim for damages to assets?
Well, business insurance work on the same principle as private insurance. So the flood damage to the properties and to the vehicles owned by the companies, if you have the right cover in place, would certainly, those insurance policies would certainly respond. I can't comment on personal injury claims because I'm not an expert in that specific area. But what I do want to mention, something that I would like to mention, for instance, is a lot of people are going away on holiday at the moment. And one of the big claims that we did actually receive the day before yesterday was from a family who's in the United States, and the entire home got flooded on the Centurion Gulf Estate. So, a word of caution to everyone, packing up and leaving for the coast. Make sure that your insurance policy is in place and that your premium is paid. And also a good preventative measure is to make sure that you leave, some sort of access to your property, so that, that we can gain access as insurers to make sure that we start taking care of the problem while you're not at home. So that's really important that you think about that when you lock up and go.
It is indeed. Christelle Colman, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.